Then we talk about what the two-way factor ANOVA is. So the two-way ANOVA, it compares the mean differences between groups that have been split on two independent variables, which are called factors. The primary purpose of a two-way ANOVA is to understand if there is interaction between two independent variables on the dependent variable. So for example, you could use a two-way ANOVA to understand whether there is an interaction between gender and education level on test anxiety among university students, where genders, males and females, and education level, undergraduate, postgraduate, etc., are your independent variables, and test anxiety will be your dependent variables. And you guys might be asking, what is the p-value? In statistics, the p-value is the probability of obtaining results as extreme as observed results of statistical hypothesis tests, assuming that the null hypothesis is correct. The p-value is used as an alternative to rejection points to provide the smallest level of significance at which the null hypothesis would be rejected. A smaller p-value means there is stronger evidence in favor of the alternative hypothesis. Alternative hypothesis is just an alternative to the null. In many cases, the alternative hypothesis will just be the opposite of the null hypothesis. For example, the null hypothesis might be there was no change in the water level this spring, and the alternative hypothesis would be there was a change in the water level this spring. The hypothesis is what you will be proving in hypothesis testing, and that you can replace it with another alternative hypothesis. So, for example, let us suppose that the Human Resources Department of company desires to know if the occupational stress varies according to age and gender. The variable of interest is therefore occupational stress as measured by a scale. There are two factors being studied, age and gender. First, suppose that the employees have been classified into three groups or level, which will be their age. So above 55, 40 to 55, and less than 40. In addition, employees have been labeled into gender classification, male and female. Testing for interaction. There are two versions of the two-way ANOVA. The basic version has one observation in each cell, one occupational stress score from one employee in each of the 6 cells. The second version has more than one observation per cell, but the number of the observation in each cell must be equal. The advantage of the second version is it helps us to determine if the interaction between the two factors. For instance, in the example above, we may be interested to know if there is any interaction between age and gender.